They say is how you behave here is how you'll behave everywhere.
Failure then just becomes feedback.
And they think like I have 3 heads or something.
People don't just pick up the phone and call each other and say hello.
We will fight harder for others more than we typically fight for ourselves.
We hang up the phone. I am so humiliated, embarrassed. It was terrible.
Welcome everyone to the No Fear podcast. I am super excited for today's guest. And what I am really hoping to get out of these episodes is the FEAR stands for fake events appearing real. And I am interviewing very successful people that have done a lot with their lives, and they just, they have a lot going. And my number one intention would be for the listener, whoever you are, if you hear a story and it motivates you to act in spite of the fear or the voices holding you back, then this would have done its job. And today we're in for a big treat with someone who doesn't need an introduction in the Keller Williams world. And it's Jennie Wolek, and she's out of Tulsa, Oklahoma. And Jennie has done a lot with building a real estate team with a big following with her group, Your Journey with Jennie. And I know you're doing a ton with investing, and you're a mom, and you've got all stuff going on, which we're going to dive deep into today. So thank you for being on.
I am so excited to be here, Scott. Thank you for thinking of me and allowing me to share, because that's really just what I love most in this world, is sharing and empowering agent friends to just tap into their own potential and live their possibilities. So thank you so much.
Yes, I just recently took a training from you last week, and you really do have your purpose and your mission dialed in, your personal mission. So Can you share that? I know you shared kind of half of it, but what is that? Because that could set the stage very well for this.
Yeah, I just discovered all over now 23 years in this real estate business, what I truly love most in it is that I get to share and give back to my agent community. So that's helped me hone in on my personal mission, which is to empower others to tap into their potential, to discover their possibilities, and start living their best life now. And, I think, Scott, we got to figure out how we're going to do that, because that's cool to have this mission statement. And so I found that I will do that through teaching and sharing and giving back, through all the lessons and the failures that I've had through life and business. And so doing this is a yes for me, because it's allowing me to do exactly what I love.
Yeah, when your vision is clear, like, decisions are easy, and it's so in alignment with what this is that it's perfect. So I'm really excited. And you mentioned the word failure. Now, I would just imagine someone like you, you've never failed at anything. You just succeed at everything right off the bat. Is that a true statement?
Oh my gosh. Well, when you see a successful person, you're actually seeing a super duper failure. That means that this failure then just becomes feedback. And I just embrace that. And no, it hasn't always been that way. My natural behavioral style is not to get uncomfortable. Instead, it has always been to be cool with status quo, and average was okay. And I had to grow into where I am today, and living and being comfortable in the skin that I have through all seeing that these failures actually lead to success. So
I love that, because I've only known the successful you, and so what I would love to start with is what in your words would be the most impactful moment where you went from this child that was raised with, hey, mediocre's okay, and just kind of skating through, to making you who you are today. Was there one moment specifically that really flipped the switch for you?
I mean, I think in my personal life, it was at a younger place when I just got sick of not succeeding. And it was all through me just settling with life. And it really came in my later days of college, and then deciding what I wanted to do when I grew up. I think a lot of us struggled during those days. And I was lost still and unsure of myself and not confident in anything. And finally, I started taking some classes that really clicked for me, that I started making good grades. That gave me some confidence. I decided to get my master's degree and paid for that myself. So once I started getting a little uncomfortable and seeing the positive results in my personal life, that really changed everything for me. But then in my business life, I was pretty still just okay with being okay as in the realtor world until years later, I took a great class. It was an 8-week training program that had me think differently. It allowed me to dream really big that I'd never, ever had done before and envision my life in the future and what it looks like and having conversations with myself and, what would I be most proud of or what would I regret? And that class with the mindset piece, the skills, the accountability, the coaching, like that was it for me. That changed everything of where you see me today. Before, that class, that was the defining moment for me. Changed
Awesome.
everything.
So we're gonna go deep into that if that's okay.
Okay.
All right, good. So one, I think we're twins because very similar stories in terms of college and finding out what we wanted and just a switch and everything. But what was your major? What was it that you got super excited about? Because I think that's really interesting to what you're doing now.
Yeah, I mean, so I think life teaches us things as a child. I was thinking about this morning, Scott, because I knew we were going to chat about it. And like so many of us as young people, when our people or adults around us say, what do you want to do when you grow up? And no, none of us really know. And a lot of times that's society or our parents telling us what we should do. And my default answer was always, I want to be a teacher. And I want to be a teacher was always my answer. And I enjoyed teaching. I was pretty good at it as a young person. I'm the oldest of all of the children in my family. So I was always the teacher or the boss or bossy, as my sisters would probably say. And so that was always my answer. Well, it's time to go off to college. And I didn't know what I wanted to do still. And I just knew by now that being a teacher probably wasn't going to earn the income that I thought I wanted because things cost money and I like things. And so that's where teacher just got put aside. And so I started off in the business direction because my best friend from high school was my roommate and that's what she picked as her major. And so I did too, which I'm really grateful for because I got to have a business undecided. I mean, a business minor from the University of Oklahoma because of all the years of business school that I had, which is so important in today's world for me. But then I was not happy. I didn't love it. And so I found my way into the sociology program, which for me, if you know what sociology is, it's the study of how humans interact in society. And I just finally was so in love with the classes and the learning and all of the things and how it applied to real life for me and interacting with others. And then I took a year off. I was still waiting tables. I waited tables all the way through college, by the way, which is another big part of my success in real estate today is because I learned that I was paid in direct proportion to the service that I gave. And so with tips, and so all this customer experience I got to deliver for people. And so I took a year off and I was like, I either need to get a job after this year is up or I'm going back to get another degree because I didn't want to grow up like most of us. And so I got my master's degree in human relations, which had a lot of business inside of it, but also, again, how we interact in society as humans. And, I pay for this great degree and have all these letters behind my name to then become a real estate agent. And if you think about it, all of the education that I had, I was very learning based. So I was always continually good with learning and growth. All of it applies to what I do today, if you think about it. And now I'm back to being a teacher after all of that.
Full circle. Your gift is connecting with humans. And, so all that knowledge and how you lit up to it comes into play all the time. So now, when was this class you took and talk about what it's called, what it's called and what it means, just a little bit more.
Well, yeah. So at Keller Williams, we have a 7-week now course called B.O.L.D, B-O.L.D, and it stands for Business Objective Life by Design. I didn't know what a life by design was when I first took it in 2010. At the time, I had been with Keller Williams. I've been in real estate for a while, but not with my local, not in my hometown. When I moved back to Tulsa in 2004 from Norman, Oklahoma, where the University of Oklahoma is, I moved back home and got life going. So I met my now husband. We had our daughter. So in 2010, I was a full-time mom, part-time agent. I mean, I had just had my license. So if someone came my way, I could help them. I was a total reactive real estate agent, nothing purposeful about my business at all. And I really believe I showed up to open houses and I smiled, and maybe somebody would say, hey, you're nice enough. You want to help us buy a home? I'd be like, yeah, sure. And so that was how I built my business, off open houses and smiling. It paid off. And so Mia, my daughter, who is now almost 17 years old, about to start her senior year, she was in my belly when I joined Keller Williams. And in 2010, she was just 3.5 years old. So still little one that I'm the main, person getting her to and from the day out programs during the day. I really had a 3-day work week, maybe from 9 a.m. to 2:30. So when I took this B.O.L.D class, that was a full day for 7 weeks, full day, 1 day a week for 7 weeks. It was a struggle for the family. We had to readjust. Hubs had to come and get her and take her to school or take care of her during that day for me to be in the classroom. And I did. Mm-hmm. And I remember it was painful, really, really painful to grow that fast in my mindset, my thinking, in my production, in the getting uncomfortable piece. But I can never look back, because in 2010, I was a solo agent. I helped 23 families, and B.O.L.D was at the end of that year. That next year, I ended up helping 51 families, which is basically doubling my business and not adding any leverage. So it's really just double the work and I'll double the time, and still being, the main one there for my daughter during the days and stuff. So it was a lot and a lot of growth. And
so you had every reason not to take this class at the time, because it does come every year, maybe a couple times a year. And you could say, oh, when Mia's 5 or when Mia's 6, or, you could have easily pushed it off. There was something in you that said, you know what, I'm going to make this work. I made a decision and I'm just going to make it work. Was this class free?
No, it wasn't free. I don't remember how much it cost back then, but I'm sure it was at least, I don't know, $500-$700 or something, maybe. Can't remember anymore. Yep. What does it cost these days? I don't even know. $800. It's an absolute investment. And I always saw any of these trainings or even later on coaching as an investment. That was an easy switch for me. I don't believe that it is an expense. It is an investment, because I believe in me. I trust that I will do what I say, especially if I'm paying for it. But the other thing, Scott, was in 2010, B.O.L.D was brand new. There was no track record of this will change your life or your business yet. This was brand new, launched in our region. It had maybe started testing markets earlier, but it was not a thing yet. And so it was an investment in time and the risk, because we didn't know if it was going to make a difference or not.
That's awesome. You had something inside of you that said, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do what it takes. And so now you're in this course, and you mentioned that it made you really uncomfortable and it grew your mindset. So what happened during that? What was uncomfortable? How did it grow you?
Well, I talk to a lot of agents, like I know you do. And I will always hear the number one challenge of being successful in real estate is the talking to people part. Mm-hmm. We are in a people and relationship business, but lots of us are afraid of or have limiting beliefs around what they're going to think about us when we reach out to them. So my biggest aha early on with calling, especially my database or people I knew or warm connections or relationships, was that I just had to brainwash myself to think, instead of I'm bugging them, because that was my first thought, I had to change it to I'm helping them. I am really good at helping people. I am just offering assistance. If they don't need it right now, then that's okay. And that was how I just had to, that was my mantra. That was my chant to myself. is I'm just offering help, and maybe they don't need my help today, and that's cool too.
Okay. And because you hear double, hey, I doubled my business. And it's like, yeah, that's awesome. I took this course, and it's nothing. I mean, it's a very little of what you probably did in the actual course versus how your activities changed outside of the course, the other 4 or 5 days of the week during that time. And so the number, it's crazy to think about, but that is the hardest thing for realtors. And what I hear is, we do a lot of teaching. I hear, I don't want to be pushy. I don't want to be a salesman. I don't want to bug them. I don't want this. And to tell a realtor and say, hey, if you want to be a realtor, you have to talk to people about real estate. And they think like I have 3 heads or something. It just doesn't, they want to do everything else on earth. I'm going to do this social media post, or I'm going to send this mailer, and I'm going to spend 10 hours on what font to use. It's all the wrong thing. So how many, do you know about how many people you're talking to before the course versus now you're in it? And did that amount double or triple, or what was that like?
I mean, I wasn't talking to anybody, Scott.
Okay.
Like, what was the point? So I had done business, and I had a database, and I was a volunteer at in a women's organization. So I knew enough to have a database. It's just that I was very passively marketing to them. They would get an email from me. These are even the earlier days that texting wasn't as such quite the thing that it is today. Social media definitely wasn't the way that it is today. And so maybe they were on an email drip campaign. I mean, how personal is that, right? And so the biggest change for me was the requirement of making 20 contacts a day. And back then it was by phone, voice to voice, or face to face. And I remember I was sick to my stomach one week. I was behind. I sat up in our upstairs bedroom, guest room, shut the door, and it was a Sunday, and I needed to get in the contacts, and I was just nauseous about it. I just did not want to do it. I called a past client that I'd helped buy a home. Very sweet, young professional. And I fumbled over all of my words. Every single word. All I was trying to say was, hey, Leah, it's Jennie, just thinking about you. And then probably going into one of the conversations that we used to say after that. And I remember just being a mess. We hang up the phone. I am so humiliated, embarrassed. It was terrible. It wasn't but a few months later that she calls me. Hey, Jennie, it's Leah. I'm ready for you to come help me sell my house now. She didn't remember that I failed all over the place and the words that I said weren't right. She didn't remember that. She just remembered that I stayed in touch with her. And so I think those were the lessons I was learning really in real time as you're being pushed out of your comfort zone to make contacts and have conversations when you don't want to, but you need to because that's your job. Mm-hmm. And so I just would see these results, and that was where my fear was lessened, because it's amazing in today's world, and still this applies. People don't just pick up the phone and call each other and say hello. I mean, I built my business on care calls before we called them that. Scott, it's Jennie. I was just thinking about you. How's the family? What are you guys doing this summer? And that was it. And if I hadn't stayed in touch with them the way that I should have, then I didn't bring up real estate. But they knew what I did. And so then they would ask me about the market or their property or anything that they may need. And so that was just the lesson for me, Scott, was taking this class got me uncomfortable. It got me to think differently. It gave me the skills. It gave me the confidence, the accountability, and the coaching. And then I saw the results. And then I couldn't not see the results.
And that all came before you saw the results. It's not like the results come and then you're like, oh, I should make more contacts and get accountable. It's the one comes before. Ironically, I have a voicemail I saved from you, and I use it when I teach about the 36 touch. You just randomly called me one day, left a voicemail. And so sometimes I'll play that as just an example of what to do. Yeah. Oh. And when I see you, and I'm sure when a lot of people see you, they'd say, oh, well, if I was Jennie, I would call my people too. Like, it's just so natural to her. And what I'm hearing you say is that's the furthest thing from the truth.
Furthest thing from the truth. It is not natural. It is not comfortable. But I convinced myself of success lies on the other side of it. And another funny story that I want to share for everyone is don't overlook even those that are closest to you. So if you remember this class, Scott, one of the first days, I think the first day, you are encouraged to call people that you know and say that you're in a contest.
Yeah.
And you need to get 10 referrals within the month in order to win.
Yep.
Well, I mean, that's uncomfortable too, right? So I call, of course, everyone calls their near and dear people. I call my dad. I mean, at this point, I've been in real estate for a very long time. My family knows what I do for a living. I call my dad. Dad, I need your help. First off, he wants to help me. I'm in a contest. Second off, he's very competitive. So as soon as I say those words, he's going to help me win. And Dad, I need your help. I'm in a contest. I need 10 referrals. Well, honey, hold on. Let me just email you over all my golfing buddies from like the last 30 years that are like his best friends. Let me email you over my buddy list. So now my dad is given me 30 names of men that are very in tight relationship with my father, their names, their emails, their addresses, their phone numbers. And guess how many golfing buddies I got to help over the years because I asked my dad for some help. So are we overlooking some of the opportunities that are right in front of us because we just don't remind those that we love most and who want us to succeed to help us out?
Couldn't agree more. And during the class, there's a time where it says, here's 15 minutes, go make some calls. And what they say is how you behave here is how you'll behave everywhere. So if you're checking your email or pretending to make calls in the class, you're probably going to do the same thing outside of the class.
That's right.
Was the whole 7 weeks just one great big success and you were just, hey, this is awesome? Or
No.
what did that look like?
Oh, no, it was painful. It's so painful. And then it's funny because, Scott, over the years, I've now taken this same class 18 times. So it was so painful that I thought I needed some more pain. And so I kept going back over and over again.
You didn't take it once and learn it and you got it? You had to...
Slow learner, for sure.
Well, I wouldn't say slow learner. I would say, A, it's a different instructor every time. B, you're always in a different state of mind. And I know you've taken it in different areas and gotten referrals from it. So I think if you want to master anything, 12, 15, 18 times is the number you take it.
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, in that first session, that was the defining moment for me in my business career, and the trajectory of all today's success was, it was about the middle of the break. So maybe like middle of the class. So maybe like week 4 or something. I remember a question was raised by the coach and in the whole room. And somehow I got picked. I don't know if I was possessed and I raised my hand because I remember the question was very painful. And it was basically something about, how are you showing up for your daughter if you aren't taking ownership of this business and the opportunity that you have? I don't remember the exact question, but it was a painful one because I started crying and started shaking. And I knew that the answer was that I needed help. I needed leverage because I was always getting lost in the daily activities, the 80% activities of real estate agent. Like I was the best at putting that new listing on the MLS and uploading those pictures. I am really good at that. I was really great at making a flyer. I mean, who could do that better than me, Scott? So I was telling myself that I was doing the job of being a real estate agent when I was hiding behind all of these non-dollar productive activities. And that was the question the coach was asking me. And I realized at that moment that there's more in me, that I am possible, and there is more opportunity for me if I just get really clear and focused in on the most important things that matter in real estate. And that was not making a flyer.
And I imagine that's really where your personal mission has been born, right? Because you were not hitting your potential, and you felt that, like, that switch cost, that moment, and you're crying and you're shaking and you're just like, damn, life is going to change. I won't even know the old version of myself. I mean, if you looked at that 2010 version and you looked at you now, it's probably a completely different person.
Totally different. Totally.
Okay. So now you have the mindset, you have the business, and you've doubled your business. So when going into this class, you were a mom, you were a realtor, but you were you were like mediocre at both. You said a different word, but I'll say mediocre. And now you double your business. So now as a realtor, you're crushing it. What did that do to how you were being a mom?
Oh, I mean, it was terrible. So, when your 3, 4, 5 year old daughter, kiddo, is, imitating you at work, where I'm always on the phone or always on the computer, I don't have time for you, is what she was hearing when I was super busy in the business of real estate, which was many years. I went from 51 units to 61 units to 71 units to 81 units. And finally in 2012 started folding in a little bit of help, literally because my friend, that she had twin daughters the same age as my daughter. So we saw each other every now and then. And she looked at me straight in the eyes. She said, "How can I help you? You are running ragged. I can tell that you're so busy. You're so stressed out, all over the place, chaotic in life, in my mind." And she said, "How can I help you?" So she got a real estate license, and with a little bit of relief, a little bit of Band-Aid for then. And then I brought on another person who had some more skills when it came to the administrative side. But it was very, very slow going, because us real estate agents, we are, the best at all the different areas of the business. And it takes us a while to learn how to give it up. When I started giving up some of those administrative tasks that I prided myself in being so good at, I had a sense of loss. Like, I've lost my purpose. And so you go through that. I don't know if you ever went through that, Scott, this like withdrawal, and I'm not needed for that anymore. And then you breathe and you go, "Oh, wait, I'm not needed for that anymore. I can now go do other things that are going to bring in more business or more opportunity or more clients," or whatever that looks like. So,
Yeah, for me, I was first time home buyers. I just loved them. And I'm at the age where I bought my first house, and I was making really good friends, and the process, though, I could bring out the teacher in me. I could show them. I mean, you just get so close during that process, and I'm just like, no one on earth is going to be able to do this like me. And then it was every time then you help with transaction, you help with everything, and every point of it, you're just like, it's so hard. People see us and they say, "Oh, they have all this leverage, and I don't know if I can do that." It's like, okay, but that's our 18th domino. Look at our first domino. My first hire was a disaster, and we'll talk about that too, because when we both believe in something called E to P. And I want you to explain that, because every time you looked at doubling your business, you shattered through a ceiling. You shattered through a ceiling based on your mindset, based on better systems, better models, and just everything that you did to shatter through that ceiling. Now that causes benefits. You get more money, you get more. You're feeling more fulfilled. All those things that happen, and it causes more problems. You have to pick your problems. So now you hit a different ceiling. And you're like, "Man, I need help with leverage," because there's only so much you can do on your own. So first, could you explain what E to P means to you? And then what was that ceiling then as you're learning leverage, you're failing in all sorts of other things, and what's going through your mind at that point?
Yeah, I mean, E to P is one of my favorite of our 6 personal perspectives. And it's because I think that's the one that I can really see the most growth in myself and know that I'm not done. So E is your just entrepreneurial, natural self, just how you would show up in life and in your work life if you were just being you. And then the P stands for purposeful. So that purpose, to go from that entrepreneurial, natural self, that human that you are, to get more purposeful, will take effort. And that effort inside of that could be adding in systems or tools or models or leverage through people. It is technology. It's something that takes it off of you doing it and something outside of you helping you get to that new level. That could even be adding in a coach. any kind of accountability like that. And so what I realized is that you break through that first ceiling, you're like, woohoo, I have a little bit of help. I can breathe again on this other side. And then you go, oh crap, there's another ceiling. And so I kept banging my head on the ceiling because my entrepreneurial self in the area of being a leader and a business owner were still lacking. I had now gotten down the how to be a real estate agent part, understanding the contract and the process and the systems of the deal, but I didn't know how to be a business owner and run my real estate business like, that produces profit and to know the numbers and how that works. I was just winging it. And that's good enough. And that'll be my goal without any purpose behind it. And then with the leadership piece, Scott, we use tools that help us stay on track. And part of my weekly and monthly and annual goal was to grow in my leadership. So, if you can see some of the books up here, I've got them all over the place. So who is a great leader? What books can I read? John Maxwell is a great example. Patrick Lencioni has awesome fables about leadership and teamwork and all of that stuff. So how can I grow in my leadership so that people want to be in my world, they want to stick around, and I'm not a crappy leader that pushes them all away? Or if I do fail through people, that I've learned lessons of how to do it better next time. Because usually what happens is us realtors, we bring people into our world to help with administrative tasks first. They're most likely not the same behavioral style as us. So we don't know how to lead and guide them and hold them accountable. And the number one lesson I learned was from one of our greatest of all time training coaches, Gene Rivers. It was in a class called Recruit Select back in the day. It's now Career Visioning. And he said, there's 3 reasons why people don't work out in your world. Either they weren't properly trained, they weren't properly held accountable, they weren't the right fit in the first place, and all 3 of those are my fault. And when I heard that, gut punch, mind blown, oh crap, he's right, it's all on me. It's our Taylor song, right? It's me, hi, I'm the problem, it's me. And I can just sing that to myself every single day, because that encourages me to get better at being me, to get better at being a leader, and to be authentic and vulnerable and transparent with my people. Because if I'm so stoic and tough, then why would they buy into this? If I can go muscle and do it all by myself, they don't feel appreciated inside of our world.
Yeah. So the way you broke through the leadership ceiling is growing yourself. And you mentioned B.O.L.D 18 times. Like, I've seen people take B.O.L.D 2 times and I got it. I know what it is. Why would I take it again? And you're at every convention and you're always building yourself up because you need to. It's not even an option. When you can do it yourself and you can do 61 units or 71 units, that's great. And you don't have a bigger purpose. Like, we will fight harder for others more than we typically fight for ourselves.
That is what I really discovered in the leadership part. As soon as I brought people on that I'm now responsible for their well-being and their family vacations and paying their bills, I showed up more than ever. I showed up. It wasn't just about me anymore. And some people could be afraid of that. That could have some fear around that, but dang, that's also the best motivator and for the best reason. Because it's not about me.
Yeah, I love that. How big is your team now?
So right now, it depends on the day.
Yeah, I know that feeling.
So right now, I've got an awesome lead agent that's been with me for 7 years. Brittany's amazing. We've got 2 newer agents that joined us at the end of last year. We've got 2 newer agents that have joined us this year that are in their training period still. We've got an awesome lead admin who's been with me for 9 years, director of marketing and events that helps with all the different things that we have going on, social media and giveaways, et cetera, with our database. And we just added a runner, which is a great investment because she helps the signs in the key box and any office administrative type things, and 2 virtual assistants.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you're running a big organization.
It's a lot of people right now. And so it's pouring into the agents to get them up and going so that they have all the leverage that they need. Yeah.
Okay. So when you started your first hires to where you are now, how many times did you have like that breakdown or that ceiling where you're hitting where you had to do something else? Or you had to change, you had to grow, you had to figure something out?
Yeah, I just think in the early days of hiring, we have a great system that we can use that keeps us on track, but we tend to always get a little creative in that sometimes and not follow the process or think we got it and wing it. So I've definitely failed through that. So just following what is already part of our process is important, but then also being okay of separating the person from the role. So I realized that I am the kind of person that I believe that all people have so much potential inside of them, that I see their opportunities. Like, Scott, tell me if you've done this. You're in an interview with somebody and you're going through the questions and they're answering. And in your brain, you're already picturing them inside the role on your team.
Every time.
And that is why I love our new process, because it's like, time out. Great. It's been awesome chatting with you. We'll get back together another time to go over the next part, because I needed that cutoff, because I was ready to like get married. Let's go. Let's make this happen. And so I started believing in people. And then when I realized that I failed, they weren't the right hire, or I didn't ask the right stuff, or I didn't hold them accountable or train them correctly, and they're not succeeding in my world, that it's okay. And if I'm not satisfied, they aren't as well. If they're not succeeding, then they're not happy and you're not happy. So you just have to talk about it. Hey, let's either reset. Are they showing up and doing the things they need to be doing? Or are they just not right at all? And so deciding. And then when I got to have the conversation, this one girl on the team, she was in a more of an administrative role, and it was not going well at all. She was chaotic and a mess, and not something that was sustainable inside of our world, because we are no drama zone. And I realized this pretty early on, and I just had to sit her down and tell her, for the role, this is what is required. And see, we thought that you would be able to achieve these things inside the role, the tasks and responsibilities. And do you feel like you are? She's like, no, I'm not. Okay, well, you have to understand that as the owner of the business and the protector of the bottom line, we're paying you this large salary and we need all of these things taken care of. So can you understand why this just isn't going to work out? So we break up. And the next day she comes back to get some of her stuff. And she pulls me aside and she says, Jennie, I just want you to know you're a really good leader, because that was the right call to make. I don't like it, but that's the right decision. And she left, and I pretty much broke down and cried, because that is not natural for a lot of our behavioral styles, is to let people down. And that has been my biggest and best growth inside of running a business, is that you have to remember it's a business, not a nonprofit, which I have run for many years at times, being a nonprofit. Instead, it needs to make sense. And so if you're paying people to do a job or compensating them for their role and they're not nailing it, well, that's on you. So what do you need to do about it?
Yeah. How are you on your optimism, the optimism for KPA, off the chart?
Oh gosh, I need to pull it up, but I would say it's high.
Yeah. I would say it's high. And that's, my coach tells me about that all the time. You think, very optimistic person, that's awesome. And it can really hold you back when you're in hiring. Even John Maxwell says that he had to get out of the way with hiring because of that optimism and seeing what the potential is in someone. You can't want something more than them, because it's going to drive you crazy. And then when you say, oh man, I got to have a really hard conversation, I'll just do that later, or it's not that bad. And then the hard conversation is just something you have to run to, not run away, if you really want to sustain it.
Well, the change in thinking for that, for me, was I was the I'll just do it later. I don't want to deal with it right now person. That person, I don't want to deal with that person right now. Having that conversation. And I coach, of course, this is why we love our coaches. They say the most pointed on purpose things. My coach said at the time, he said, so when you're allowing this person to stay in your world, how are you showing up for a leader for the team members who are doing what they're supposed to be doing? And it was that afternoon I was done. Hey, we got to have a conversation. I got to let you go. Here's why. And it's been great, and peace out. Because it was just shifting me from being selfish, because I didn't want to deal with the conversation, the tough conversation in my own mind. But now it took me from being so selfish to actually protecting the team members who are showing up. And they see me as a leader. What kind of leader do I want to be? I want to be a leader that they can believe in and back and all hands on deck and let's go. Right?
Yeah. If you're an A talent, you don't want to be around C talent. You're actually repelled by it. And if you allow C talent, then you're going to lose your A's. So I love that advice. It's just so clear. You know, if it's simple and it's impossible to hide from, it's like, damn, I need to act, and I need to act now.
Yeah.
That's great. You have a huge following now with my journey with Jennie, right? Or our journey with Jennie?
You say that
your journey. Yep, sorry. Your journey with Jennie. And how many people now have you gotten in that world?
Yeah, I mean, back in 2016 is when I realized that what I love in this business, and that was sharing and giving back to my agent friends. So I created a video blog back then where I would make 2 videos a month, and I'd be like, here's how we set up this system or our listing process. And I would share content and created a video blog with an email list. And so, yeah, in the Facebook group that goes along with it is a closed group that's all opt-in members that if people have asked to join. Now it's about 7,500 people who have opted in, and that's huge. Fun. It's been fun. Yeah.
There's a lot of noise out there, and there's a lot of eyeballs and a lot of things for all of our attention. So if you get 7,500 people to say, like, I want to hear what you have to say, that's a big testament. So I assume it just started 0 to 7,500 in the next day, right?
Yeah. No. Yeah. No. It was.
How did it start? It's a great story.
Yeah, it would be great. Overnight success.
Yeah.
No, it's baby steps. You know, Scott, after 23 years in this business, you know that we are the tortoise rather than the hare. I'm the slow and steady, win the race by being consistent and having a foundation to build everything on. And so the video blog was first. That was, so it's capturing emails. So when I went to travel to take this B.O.L.D class, one year I took it 4 times, 3 of those outside of my market center. So got to meet new agent friends in Oklahoma City and Northwest Arkansas and Missouri. And then the next year I took B.O.L.D again a couple more times outside of my market center. So the goal is always capturing and growing the database, just like your local database. Mm-hmm. So now our agent-to-agent database helps us generate over 100 referrals a year to our team. We close, it's about 30% of our business each year from agent to agent referrals. So early on, I had the mindset with my team is like, because I love to teach and train and share. So I would go travel to do these things. I'm a certified instructor and it gives me joy. And I felt guilty about it. And then my team was like, what? You love it, you're good at it, and you bring in referrals from it. So yes, go fly, little birdie. And so that was like the permission that I needed to then change my focus. So that's Jennie's form of lead gen, is with agent to agent referrals. So now that database has grown, it produces referrals. Thanks everyone. And then also allows me to teach, share, and connect and care with agents across the country.
I mean, it's to the point now where I'd say your mind share with me in Tulsa is if I see Tulsa at an airport, I'm just like, ooh, I like take a picture and send it to you or whatever. So, I mean, that's just the goal is to say Tulsa or even Oklahoma and think of you. Yeah. When you were building your database or you started doing videos And the intent of your videos was for business, and you had your business database and your agent database. How did it really take off, the agent database? Because that's a funny story.
Yeah, the funny, not funny at the time story was that if you know me, you know I love systems and checklists. And so if anything has a glitch in the system, then I get a little stressed out about it. And so we had our local database that we were sending local videos about. So like, Scott, if you lived in Tulsa and you were a friend or past client, you'd get 2 videos from me a month about Tulsa. Maybe it's about a local restaurant. Maybe it's about a local business. Maybe it's about the Tulsa market statistics of what's happening in the real estate world. And so that was the system. And by accident, an admin pulled the wrong list. We sent out my Tulsa content to my agent database, and I was mortified. I was, oh my gosh, how will I ever recover from this? And I think I did a retraction email, which I think is very important. If you ever mess up, admit it, and you actually get great response, because I think I sent out an email. I'm so sorry. That was a mistake. Please, unsubscribe. You're so welcome to do that. But people didn't. They kept it because this was the early days. This is like 2014 and 15, 16, when video was really taking off, not the social media world it is today. And so they were getting ideas of what then they could go do in their local market. And so that's really how Your Journey with Jennie was created, was because I go, oh, they like this, because I'm helping inspire them to go then build their business and help more people in their market. And so that's how it was really born. So I switched it. Hey, how about if I also do videos just for agents and content that will help their business personally?
That's awesome. And you found your gift, your niche, your strength, and you just doubled down on it.
Fun.
Okay. So now what do you want from Your Journey with Jennie in, say, it's 5 years from now? What does it look like?
Oh, that's really good. I'm always thinking about that, because the whole training classes that I do now through Zoom all originated because of the pandemic, because I had set this big goal and for 2020, like we all did, that I was going to travel to different market centers. I'm a Keller Williams University instructor. I'm a Quantum Leap instructor. I'm like, I am going to book out my calendar and travel and train. It's going to be awesome. And so then, what happened? And so I'm like, well, dang it, that puts a kink in my plan. So how can I still do what I love? Well, I had created over time all of my systems. I said, I'm just going to make a class. So I created a Mirror My Business workshop. $99. You come for 3 hours and you get all my stuff. And then I'm teaching this. I'm getting tons of people. I'm teaching it at least every other month, and tons of agents are tapping in. They're participating. They're getting all my stuff in a Google Drive, all the checklists, all the things. And then I'm like, people keep coming back. They're like, but we want more. And I realized I couldn't go all the way deep in that 3 hours. I needed to give them more stuff. So then it got expanded to implement my business. So then it's over 6 weeks. I was giving more 1 day a week for 6 weeks, an hour and a half. And we went deeper, like on team building, on, money, on different things and systems that I'm doing in my system, but I didn't even touch on in the first sessions. And then they're like, but we want more. And it was great because people wanted to hang out with me. So I love it. That's like my favorite thing, is a high I. And so that's where my membership group was created. So I have a membership group, monthly membership group, where people get to get all my classes for free. If there's normally a fee for others to watch or to participate, they get all my classes, a weekly mastermind. They get a call with me each month. And so that's really where Your Journey with Jennie is a wonderful thing. It's all free, and I love sharing everything there. But really, it's like the funnel of any business. Is I want you to be more one-to-one with me, and that's how you can have that if you're interested, is just being a part of my membership group. So those are the goals there.
Amazing. And you're very clear on a lot of things. And you said something to me that was awesome. You said that you love being a teacher. You don't necessarily see yourself as a coach.
That's right.
What's the difference? Well,
again, successful people are also very self-aware. And so I am very self-aware in knowing my strengths and knowing my passion. My passion is is teaching and training and providing the material and the content and the lessons I've learned. And it's not so much on the I'm going to follow up with you and see if you said what that you did what you're supposed to do. Like, it's that piece that I'm not a coach. I'm not a coach. I am a teacher, and I will give you everything and all of that, but you go hire somebody for more money to actually hold you accountable to it.
Yeah, there's so many coaches that think they are, and they're really teachers. So it's refreshing to hear someone that's aware of that. I could talk to you for 10 hours. And one last thing I want to ask you before we wrap up is just touch on your personal investment journey with real estate, because you've got your team, you've got the journey with Jennie, and now you're building your life by design. It's not by default. What does your investing world look like?
Well, just to go back really quick, when I first got in real estate in 2001, I worked for a tiny, tiny brokerage. And my broker just saw a lot of potential in me, thank goodness, because he really taught and trained me in all the different areas of real estate. And one of them was I needed to buy a house. Why would I pay rent? And so I bought my first house in Norman, Oklahoma for $84,000, kicking myself that I have sold it since. I bought another home just a year later. And then when it was time for me to leave town and move back near my family, I put both those homes on the market and made 30 grand in just 2 years of owning these homes. So that was my first, real estate is pretty darn cool, because that allowed me to pick up, move back near my family, have money in the bank while I rebuilt and started over on my business here in Tulsa, because it takes a little time to build that database. So that was my first taste of rentals. Then I bought a home here in Tulsa. That was another small home that I'm sick that I sold. I mean, I'll tell you what, Scott, it's just, at the time, it was the right thing, right? And then I turned it into a rental property. So I had been doing this in the past, but it didn't kick back in again until 2020. So again, I don't know, magical year for so many things, but my husband and I, we bought a home in the neighborhood that, in that class, remember when you visualize your best life and where you're going to live and what the house looks like and the neighborhood? Well, I'm living in it right now, by the way. It has a beautiful front porch that makes my heart sing. And so we moved into this house. So we kept the home that we had been living in, turned that into a long-term rental. And then I was doing a book club with some of our friends, Scott, and we were doing it on MREI, Millionaire Real Estate Investor. And it was refreshing my mind to the beauty of rental investing in real estate. And so it's just first opening your mind to that possibility. And then it starts happening. Clients were coming to us as potential listings. My agents would go out and meet with them, help with pricing. And I say, let me see that before we make that active. And then if the numbers worked, I'd offer them the price that they'd already agreed on, just knock off some commission. And they were happy as pie. And I got to start building in my investment properties. We just closed on Lucy. They're all alphabetical. So we've got Alice, Bertha, Cher, Destiny, Eunice, Felicia, F.G. Goldie, H, Hi. We have a duplex, H and I, Hazel and Iris, and K is Kate. No, Jackie and Kate, and Lucy yesterday.
That's funny.
So
can your S be named Scott?
Yes, for sure. When we get there.
Okay.
So it's been fun, and it's been getting very uncomfortable. But the fun part is the more you do, the more leverage you have. And so now once you get in a partnership with a commercial lender, which is who we have, we just say, hey, can we buy this? And he's like, yeah, we'll figure it out. So we got to buy our latest property by just kind of earmarking our other equity in homes. So no down payment. We just had to bring our closing costs. So it gets easier. So it's really the mindset. If you go to think like a CEO season 3, 5, one about investing, whatever the one that one is.
We can put that in the notes.
Yeah, it's just so great for getting your mindset right around it when it comes to being open to the opportunity. As real estate agents, we have first dibs. And as Gary Keller's even said, it's like insider trading.
So you had your mindset right. Was your husband's mindset right away?
Well, he's kind of opposite behavioral style of me. So he is always more slow to go, as you can imagine. But he has trusted in me to see the positive results. Just like I had fear about calling people, he has fear, but knows that on the other side of it is goodness and our future. So,
yeah. Well, what I'm hoping that I got out of this conversation is there's a lot of reasons why you didn't or couldn't done what you've done, or the reasons not to. And you looked at those reasons and you just said, I'm just still going to do it, and it's those decisions that make or break you. And I know to start and say, if you have a spouse that doesn't think like you and they're scared of that risk and all of that, I mean, it's just a potential challenge or opportunity to see how that can work. It's not always has to be a barrier or a hurdle.
That's right.
Cool. Anything that I didn't mention that you want to talk about? I really appreciated my journey with you. Is there anything I didn't ask?
Oh gosh, I feel like we talked about so much, and I just think at the end of the day, we allow our thoughts to hold us back from our greatness. And that's just when we have to acknowledge them. We have to hear them, but then we need to tell them to shush. I mean, I think the best thing I learned from my coach was the things that we say to ourselves. If somebody said the things that we say to ourselves in our mind about ourselves to the people we loved the very most in this world, for me, it'd be my daughter. If somebody spoke to Mia the way that I speak to myself in my negative talk, what would I do to that person? What would I say to her? And you are that person. You are so important in feeding your mind the right optimistic, positive, being your biggest cheerleader and taking care of yourself. I think my most growth, Scott, has come through my personal development before my business development. Putting my mask on first, having my self-care and my exercise. And so just really this time of year, it gets tough. The market's interesting. And if we are putting ourselves first, taking care of ourselves, then we can be around to take care of others later on. That's what matters most.
Cool. I love it. Thank you so much for the time. And I know a lot of people are going to get a lot out of this. So I appreciate you.
I appreciate you.